listening to the Red Pill Hardcore Radio Show. House baby.
You are compelled to listen.
Oh no, don't start with it. See, you speak in the devil's tongue and you think it's a joke, but
You
it's
are
real.
compelled.
The hell is being handled by this?
You will listen. You will listen.
Yes. Will you just cut it out and talk normal?
You will listen to
See,
me.
this is what I'm
Every
talking
chance you get.
You are
Every
thinking it's a
minute.
joke.
You will keep your radio. You will turn the volume up even higher.
It's a good joke, but you're tearing down the foundations of our nation.
The entire
Very
foundation
funny.
around
Very
our
funny.
ears.
You're listening to the Red Pill Hardcore Radio Show. House baby. Keep it real. Take the red pill.
You drive a hard
All right. You guys are listening to the Red Pill Hardcore Radio Show. I am your host, V. And tonight we have, of course, Will Corbett from Demand the Truth, and my other co-host, Bill the Butcher. Now, today we are talking about well, there's some things that have come up and are really just out there. We have people who have really just, I don't know how to get to this, guys. There's people out there who want to regurgitate the truth instead of learning the truth, getting deeply embedded with the truth. Okay? We can talk about the Clinton Foundation trafficking children and all that, but knowing about it and doing something about it are totally different things. Okay? And this is something that, this is my style. You guys know my style. You should know my style. You want to bring up a subject? You want to talk politics? Politics is the Tea Party. Okay? While there's a Tea Party going on, there are men fighting. And I'm going to talk about the psychological operations underneath. So, we had a guest today. I'm not quite sure where she went.
She's here.
Okay. So that is that is the style. And for any of you that know me, I have fans that have followed my career for years because I've been doing this for quite a long time. And none of you have been able to tell me that I was wrong. Nobody has bothered to call in, report to me, say anything about me being wrong. Because I do investigative journalism. So there's something called critical thought that you're supposed to have. When you receive information, you analyze that information and you have questions about that information. You don't regurgitate.
And not only that, V, you're awesome. I'll just quickly chime in here. Not only do you do your own like on the ground work, do you have your own radio show, your own TV show, but then all the research and the stuff that you do yourself, then you also give a free sign-up for anybody that wants to get their point across. and people that you agree, disagree with, and all that, they get to sign up, and they can have their airtime and present the information to you, and you can make what you will of it. And you're going really above and beyond in all different forms. You're doing the investigation, you're bringing things to light, you're on the ground, and you're giving pretty much anybody that wants, but besides calling for violence, a platform to discuss their ideas. I mean, what else can you do? So I really appreciate it, dude.
Hey, yeah, hey V, ditto, okay, ditto. I'm with you all the way.
Well, thank you guys. I appreciate that. So I believe we have our first guest here with us. Janet Palin, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I'm going to let you have the floor because you have an important message and topic that you want to discuss with us.
Right. I wanted to discuss an article that I wrote that was recently published in Activist Post. I've been an investigative journalist for over 30 years. I kind of jumped ship around 2004 and stopped writing for mainstream media, which was, my training and my background. But I just basically was so fed up with, the sorts of media games that I saw going on within the hallowed halls of the press that I just didn't want to put up with it anymore. So I'm writing.
Same here. That's why I got into media. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm really writing now for Activist Post, which I find to be far more valiant and forthright than a lot of these, so-called venerable and established press agencies. So the article that I was hoping to discuss tonight is called Looking Beyond Jeffrey Epstein. And it takes as sort of a jumping off place the fact that Epstein seems to have sort of skirted around prosecution for pretty unacceptable behavior for quite a long time. And I wanted to use that and in the article as a jumping off place to bring attention to an individual who is very representative of her profession. That profession is guardian. She actually, her name is Melody Scott, and she has worked as a professional guardian for decades and has used her powers to commit the most horrific crime against her wards. Now, for those who don't know what a guardian is, there are basically two definitions. There's the the mainstream definition, which is basically a guardian is appointed by a court when there are allegations that a person needs some help. They're getting old, they're doddering, they're disabled, there's something wrong, and they can't take care of themselves. And the guardian is appointed, very often a stranger, whose business it is to be a guardian, to look after the person and to also make their financial decisions on the initiation of a guardianship, the money, the estate, whatever the person owns, goes into the care and protection of the guardian. They make the financial decisions. They make the medical decisions. They make the personal decisions, like where the person should live, if they get to marry, if they get to see their family or not. So that's sort of the mainstream definition. But in fact, as we can tell, implicit in this definition is that a guardian is somebody who owns other people, because that's what this is.
That's what it boils down to. It's supposed to be just a representation of another person, but that does sound.
I'm sorry, but
I
didn't hear you. Would you repeat that, please?
So yeah, the guardianship is supposed to be someone who represents someone, but it does boil down to ownership when you look at all things a person can do. Yes,
it has certainly bled into that. Yeah, because when you lose the right to access your own money, when you lose the right to decide where you're going to live, who you're going to see, and all of these rights are transferred to a stranger who may have a financial interest, who does have a financial interest in you, then one can see where the field is wide open for potential abuse. So this article called Looking Beyond Jeffrey Epstein discusses some of the business practices of Melody Scott. Melody Scott is currently under a Secret Service investigation. And I know this because the Secret Service contacted me about a year and a half ago, wanting to find out everything I knew about her, what files I had on her. I've written a number of articles on her, and also, contacts with other people who've been victimized by her. And the key word here, of course, is victimized, because she has used her position and her power to literally get away with murder. And I say that without any concern that
let me ask you something.
Being sued for libel or slander. Yes, what?
Well, let me ask you, do you feel, because what I know about the government, this is a very tricky situation. Whenever an agency like the Secret Service or FBI, any of those people like that, say they're investigating something, especially when it comes to a very influential person, we're asking questions of a journalist or anyone that may be involved. Do you really feel as though they were investigating the person in question, or just keeping tabs on you and what you know? Has anything bad happened to you since this investigation started?
I felt at the time that I was contacted first by the special agent out of the Riverside Secret Service office, that he was absolutely sincere, and that, basically what I gave him, was stuff that had already been published, and just simply pointed him in the direction of, certain very problematic cases, and also gave him some names, phone numbers of people. And this is where it began to get interesting, because that was a year and a half ago. And the Secret Service is acting kind of funny about this investigation now. You contact them, you want to know, basically, what is the status? And this is actually an imperative question, because Melody Scott was her professional fiduciary license, which gives her the right to function as a guardian or conservator, was revoked in 2015. The Secret Service itself investigates certain kinds of financial crimes. They're not going to investigate allegations of murder. And there are statutes of limitations at play, most of which are 5 years. So if they're dragging their heels on the investigation, they may soon find themselves in a situation where they can't prosecute anything. So, given someone in Melody Scott's position does not act alone. Besides the fact that she has to be these are court-authorized guardianships, She is represented by attorneys, and her decisions, her accounting, everything has to be approved by a judge. So now, this has gone beyond, questionable actions of an individual and has now bled onto the judiciary. And it gets worse than that with Melody Scott, because with Melody Scott, at least 5 separate county district attorneys have been contacted by various victims of hers, from LA County to Riverside County to San Bernardino, etc., basically claiming criminal action by her. None of the DAs would prosecute. So now you've got a problem with, not only a complicit judiciary, you have complicit DAs, and it gets worse than that. And the article goes into levels and layers of players, government agencies, and actually names a bunch of names of deputy assistant attorney generals who have covered for Melody Scott for decades. So, taking Jeffrey Epstein as sort of a jumping off place, you have this fabulously wealthy guy who, has proclivities which happen to be illegal, and certain friends which, make him even more interesting to people because his friends are like presidents and, and so forth. So the question there is, how far did Jeffrey Epstein influence go, right? So the question with Melody Scott is, she has been covered for decades, and she's been covered for by very powerful people within the legal system. So you have a situation here that is to some degree parallel. And unfortunately, when you talk about guardianship, you see Melody Scott is certainly, she may be, one of the more brazen and gross offenders, but she is certainly not the only one in the position of guardian who's getting her getting cover from others in the legal system. In fact, the problem with abusive guardianships, and we're talking about not only theft of assets, but also the guardians in many cases making, shall we say, problematic medical decisions that result in the person's death. This construct, this sort of paradigm of what guardians are doing to elderly and disabled people has become a national epidemic. I'm going to stop a second and get a drink of water. Do you have any questions or anything?
I definitely agree with you. On my TV show, Family Case Files, I deal with probate court all the time. You cannot believe the stories that I hear about not just family members taking advantage of their family members, but the court system and any other corporation. There could be building corporations, building companies that have an interest on plowing your house down or just doing something with your property. There's so many people and entities, corporations in government that are abusing the elderly. There's a big farming system that is taking away the wealth from the people, taking away people's inheritance, taking away people's property, anything that would stay in the family, the government is trying to scoop up. So this is Agenda 2130, whatever anyone has to think about that. But I do believe we have to go to commercial break, and we'll be right back for our short segment.
Over 9,000. girl is over 9,000. My squad is over 9,000. Everything we do is over 9,000. Flow over 9,000. My girl is over 9,000. My squad is over 9,000. Everything we do is over 9,000. Flow over 9,000. My girl is over 9,000. My squad is over 9,000. Everything we do is over 9,000. Flow over 9,000. My girl is over 9,000. My squad is over 9,000. Everything we do is over 9,000.
Okay. So, we are back for our short segment. And we have Janet Phelan here. I would actually like for Will, before Bill jumps in, I would like if Will had anything to say, the short segment, to go ahead.
Well, I wanted to piggyback on what you were saying right before the break, which is we got all these people out here and all these things going on, and to the earlier point, which is I was interviewing someone earlier on my show. I do a weekly show, and they were saying how the foster places and the school teachers and coaches, that's where they get the kids from. Most of these kids come from foster parents, and I ended up arguing with somebody this morning on Facebook because I have a protest. So if anybody's in the southern New England area, come Thursday, we're going to family court. We're having a protest in Providence, the Gary Hay Judicial Complex, and I named the protest "Bring Our Kids Home." Right? I don't have any kids personally, but bring our kids home. And somebody who I consider them an activist, who went to march on Monsanto and all this other stuff, they were like, "Oh, what are you talking about?" Well, you know, it sounds to me like you're saying, let's take on DCYF, which is the Child Protective Services here. And I'm like, well, yeah, I'm not actually coming on saying that, but like, there's no evidence presented to a jury, given a warrant. There's no jury of your peers, and they can just take your kids away from you. So, and the DCYF over here got caught just this year, deaths in their care, multiple deaths in their care, kids getting pimped out, and they lose more kids than the bad parents. So at what point do these statists stop licking their boots and realize, hey, we got to find a non-governmental solution to this problem, because not only are they not the solution, but they're the perpetrators, and that's where they're getting all the damn kids from.
Okay. And I agree with that. We need I like what you said there, non-governmental solutions. Because if we, the people, cannot understand that we are the government, that we're supposed to be the government, you're not understanding that you're supposed to govern your own life, well, maybe we need to call it something else. There needs to be people that take responsibility for themselves, their environment, their situation, our social situation, instead of handing it over to psychopaths who are not going to do right. You can have faith, blind faith, and even something I call, it's a complacent thing. I deal with people, even where I live now, where it's, you talk to them, it's in the news every day what the Vatican's doing, and this and that, and no, they're not doing that. No, there's a big misunderstanding. Doesn't matter how huge it gets. No, it's just a big misunderstanding. And the Catholic Church would never do that. And these people have their heads in the ground so deep, wrapped up in their asses too. I've never seen anything like it. So,
well, there seems to be a sort of type of personality that wants to really honor authority, and there seems to be another kind of personality that questions authority. And it seems that those who just want to believe in authority they're really kind of stretching at the seams now, because it's becoming fairly obvious that the systems, the court systems, involving both family court and children, and also guardianship court and the elderly, that they've completely gone off into the woods.
Absolutely.
You have two really vulnerable populations here. You have children, who are vulnerable, and you have old people and disabled people who are also vulnerable. And it seems that the courts have sort of developed programs really to prey upon elderly people and prey upon families in ways that end up enriching attorneys and so forth. There was a very good book written a couple of years ago. I think it's called The Worst Interests of the Child, by Keith Harmon Snow, who was actually a former, I believe, researcher for the UN. And he stumbled upon what was happening in family court and, wrote this book, which was a very powerful book. And you can't read that book and come away from it trusting the courts anymore.
Okay, and I'm glad you brought that up. That's a great thing. People check that out. But when we come back from commercial break, my co-host Bill is an elderly man himself. I believe he's going to have some things he wants to say about this. So when we come back from commercial break,
everything is not for everybody.
And yes, you are still listening to the Red Pill Hardcore Radio Show. I'm Coach B, and we have Janet Palin here with us. And I want to continue the subject. I want Bill the Butcher here with me, Utah's most feared man on the subject here. I want your assertion here. I want
my intake on this is simple as this. Janet came on and she name dropped Epstein, and when I heard that we were going to do this show tonight, I had my people investigate the Epstein thing and everything. Nothing she has said to date has drawn a direct line from Epstein to anything that relates to anything she's talking about. I can't tell anything she's saying that makes any sense at all.
Well,
nothing
sorry,
at all.
I
know, Janet, please, Janet, hold on. And I will shut up at this point and let Janet defend herself. Janet, how does this have anything to do with Jeffrey Epstein? Just your thoughts.
I was trying to draw that comparison in the first part of the show, and I understand there might have been some audio problems. So,
yes.
I'm sorry that happened. It happens sometimes, so we're on a different phone now. So, essentially, what I was attempting to say, and no, I never said I was going to do the show on Epstein. I sent the article forward, which is clearly,
You said the N-word. You said the word Epstein, which means that you were dropping. Come on now. You were dropping the word Epstein. How is Mr. Epstein involved in what you're saying? Please.
Right. The word Jeffrey Epstein is actually in the title of the article. And the comparison that I'm making here is that you have people in this country who are apparently somewhat above the law. And they appear to be above the law because of their contacts and who is protecting them. Now, in the case of Jeffrey Epstein, we know that he had, presidents and former presidents as his guests on his planes and so forth. We also know that he was involved in preying on vulnerable people. Now,
then why did Janet, why didn't you make that the central point of your article? You didn't do that. You didn't do that.
The central point. You haven't even read the article. You admitted that.
No, I didn't read the article because it doesn't make any sense. So why didn't you make that the central point of your presentation? Why didn't you do that?
Oh, no. Okay. So I guess you hung up, right? Well,
jump in for a second, V.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I really don't mean to interrupt, but it's clear. And by the way, congratulations on landing Janet Phelan on your show. I did read the article, Janet, and I think, Billy, what Janet is trying to say is that there's an elite in this world, and that Jeffrey Epstein is, swirling at somewhere at the center of this swirl or close to it, and he represents, and his light sentence that he got from Dershowitz represents an example of how it is that people are moving about at will and committing crimes right out in the open. And they're getting away with it because they're friends with a guy like Epstein, who has a little black book with names in it like Rothschild and Kissinger and Clinton and our current president and so many others. Just a book full of billionaires. I think that's what Billy. I think that's what Janet's trying to do is draw a parallel between.
No. Let me interrupt you. In all respect, our current president, who grabbed him by his collar and threw him out of Mar-a-Lago because he was trying to make a pass at a 14-year-old girl. He did that.
Yeah, a lot of people are backing away from him now.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Let's get real. Let's get real. Let's get real.
I was just all I was doing was saying I think that I believe that's what I take away from Janet's article is that this woman is moving around. She's obviously committed some horrific crimes over there in Riverside, California. In her capacity as a guardian, and the particular case, the boy who got the tracheotomy is tragic. But I think that's what she's trying to say. Now, Janet, if I'm wrong, you please feel free to say what it is that you were trying to say.
I don't know if she. I don't think she's on the line because I don't know. When it comes to journalism, there's journalism.
That's because she's caught. V. That's because she's caught. She is. V. That's because she's caught.
Well, you can argue a point in journalism. Not everybody's just going to agree with what you're saying. If you're a real investigative journalism, you can take someone saying, well, this point is wrong, or that point is wrong, but I've never actually, she's the first person I've ever had just hang up because someone didn't agree with her. I think that's very not, it's unprofessional. So, anyways.
Well, it boils down to, she dropped Jeffrey's name several times, but she did not draw a direct line between any crimes. And I'll be honest with you. Jeffrey Epstein is a pimp. He is a pimp. He has pimped young ladies, and he needs to go to jail until Jesus comes back. Okay, but the thing was, this woman, everything I listened to was absolute balderdash, and I just can't go on with it. So you guys, give me your thoughts.
Well, I think that 30 minutes is not much time to try to make the case that she was trying to make, for one thing. I understand what you are saying, and that is that you came on the show prepared to deal with issues related directly to Jeffrey Epstein, and these issues that she's talking about in the article are not directly related to Jeffrey Epstein. You are correct about that. She is simply using Jeffrey Epstein, who is visible, who is a very visible person, to sort of explain what this Guardian is doing. It's just, in other words, look at Jeff Epstein, see what he's doing, see what he gets away with, see why he gets away with it, which is because of his tremendous wealth of enormous power in the people that he surrounds himself with. And now you can sort of understand what's going on in the lives of the people who are being represented by this woman, who operates with the kind of impunity that he and his friends operate with. That's just what I took away from her article. That's what I read.
Well, she came on with this thing about, have you read my article? No, I haven't. I don't read anybody's article, baby. I read my article.
Yeah, you're too busy writing.
I don't read. I'm not going to read your articles. I'm not going to read your articles. I'm Bill.
Well, it's actually,
I won't read your article on the bet. But you need to explain what you're trying to say in your article to me, one-on-one. I'm not going to read your article. I'm Bill Butcher. I'm not going to read your article. Come on, baby. Come on. Come on.
Well, it's not even about whether you read it or not. I mean, it's the real thing is if I have an article or if I did something, it's just like when CNN or Fox or somebody brings somebody aboard, they were like, okay, well now we have our investigative journalist. Yeah, it looks like you've been following this case for a few months. What do we have? And the person usually, I mean, over there they all memorize what they're going to say, but realistically, they're not supposed to know. The journalist is supposed to say, and hey, look what I uncovered. And the presenter, in this case would be V and us, would be just asking follow-up questions and probing, So, I mean, it's pretty standard.
Yeah, and what you said about V and being an investigative journalist, and not just an opinion maker, I think dovetails right into what you just said. This is a show where, where facts are being presented, and this lady here who has I want to say a great resume as a reporter, has what I consider to be a complicated article that was one of the first of many articles of its type that you will see, and I think there will be an evolution of this idea that that there is an elite that we can't do anything about. How do you go up against a person who's supported by other people who can call on Bill Clinton and Henry Kissinger and when he was alive, Stephen Hawking? I mean, the in his black book, in Epstein's black book, the impact of reading all those names is mind-boggling. You begin to realize that, you and I have trouble when we go up against district attorneys in our CPS case, because they're connected. They're connected to other people. They're connected to judges and other attorneys and, powerful people. And that's really just what she's talking about is just a larger and more concrete web than what you and I look at practically every day.
Then why is she using the name of Jeffrey Epstein anywhere in her articles? Why is she doing it? She's doing that to draw attention to the articles. Jeffrey has nothing to do with her articles. This is it's very simple. It's very simple. She's drawing attention to her articles, and which there's nothing there. There's nothing there. It's simple. It's very simple.
That is a perfectly acceptable point of view for you to have. There are still going to be people who will yell the word. It's just like what your grandson did when he made that sign promoting free whiskey and beer in order to sell apricot. It's almost identical.
God heard you say that, man. Okay, go on. God heard you say that. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just
Guys,
saying,
we have a caller. Guys, we have a caller. Let's let the caller talk for a few minutes here before the show's over. Go ahead, Ian. Or I'm sorry, Lark.
Hello, gentlemen. I wanted to weigh in on your conversation, if I might.
Go ahead.
With Ms. Phelan. The issue she was describing, although I don't think that she was able to have the opportunity to articulate it fully, is frankly something much greater and much bigger than the Jeffrey Epstein situation.
No, she had
it has everything to do.
She chose to hang up because nobody's agreeing with her or no one's kissing her butt. Whatever the issue is, she had her chance to articulate. And being a real journalist, she shouldn't have to have somebody else try to say her point. Now, I understand that we're trying to figure it out, but she didn't say her point. She didn't want to stand up to criticism on the article and discuss the facts. And that's what this show is about. That's what real journalism is about. I'm not here as a billboard to have people say, hey, here's my article, and then want to meander. Time is valuable. The world's coming to an end, people. We got to get to the point.
Well, I'm sorry that you see it that way. I read the article. I've been reading Janet Phelan's work for years. I follow the work of Marty Oakley on this very same issue. I don't think she had an opportunity to articulate it. I think, frankly, you gentlemen are rude. And that's all I've got to say about it.
She had a chance to articulate it. She hung up.
Whoa. Let me jump in on this. Why do you think we were rude? Because she was stupid with her article? Because she's not a journalist? Because she didn't know what she was doing? And because she jumped in there over her head? Why do you think we were rude? Explain to me. Please explain to me why we were rude. I'm waiting. Come on.
Don't say she didn't have a chance to speak, because she had a chance to speak. She chose to hang up.
I'm not qualified to explain why it is that you were rude. But it came across as rude.
Don't say it.
I heard everything. And you can interrupt me all you want, okay? But I have to say what I've got to say.
No, sir.
You were rude, and you were it was uncalled for. And that's all there is to it, gentlemen, because you guys are low rent, low life, son of a bitch.
No, listen. Sir, I will not interrupt you. I will let you have your speech, okay?
You mean like you didn't interrupt Janet?
No, I didn't interrupt her. I asked her a simple question, and she was too stupid to answer it. Now, why was I rude?
Have you been drinking?
No, sir, I have not. I have not. And don't go there. Don't go there.
What's your perception? This man is an elderly man.
No. Why do you think I was rude to her when I asked her a simple question? How does the word Jeffrey Epstein, how does it tie to what we're talking about tonight? She was trying for tags. And that's all it was. Now, that's a fact. And you can't admit that. Okay, I'm sorry if your hero didn't work it out. It didn't, you think. And have you read my article? Hell no, I didn't read your article. It's not anywhere near what I wrote. No, I didn't read your article because it was stupid. Your thoughts, sir?
No. He's gone because he had no talking point. when you come onto a show, you're going to talk about your article, talk about your art. If you have a subject matter, talk about it. That's what the whole point of coming on to the show. If we have insider knowledge, if everyone on the show read the article and she wants to go on a tangent, nobody can follow us. That's not journalism. Okay? That's not how it works. We're not being rude. I've never been called rude on my show at any point in time. We have someone who failed to do the standard, and someone who I guess is a fanboy said that we didn't give her an opportunity to talk. You all heard it. She hung up. I don't want to waste any more time with it. So,
well, I must say that rude is the last word that occurs to me when I think of a description of UV. You're a very polite person.
I would think so. Thank you.
I'm not sure why he called me rude, but he called
and
Billy
Bill
rude because.
And Bill struck, right? This guy has no perception of
Billy
anything.
said, "Don't go there."
When
I see "don't go there," I don't go there.
And that was quite rude. Disrespect for an elderly man. Okay, Bill, you've been a journalist for decades. Okay, right?
45 years.
45 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, that long eclipsed my experience, or Will's experience, but, you know, that's why we have a fair and balanced show. And that is the point of me having multiple hosts on the show. Because if it's going to be a situation where we have a BSer, go ahead, Will. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, but I mean, it doesn't get any more free and open than you sign up on this list, you can say whatever you want. Now, you know, maybe that guy said, I'm not qualified in any way to say how or why you're rude, but I'll still call you rude. But you know what? We don't have to sit here and politely kiss people's butts, too. That's not our job. I mean, the fact that you let somebody go for 41 minutes just saying whatever they wanted to say before you came back, and nobody said, hey, you son of a bee. They just said, hey, I disagree with what you're talking about. So it might not have been the most polite thing ever, but, I mean, it doesn't get pretty much more open than come on this show that's worldwide, talk about whatever you want. Maybe 48 minutes in, we'll give you a little bit of a pushback. So I don't think that you did anything wrong at all.
Okay.
I love Will. I love Will. Go ahead.
It's just a pleasant experience. I've been in media for 5 years now, and I can say that this was very pleasant. I would really like for people to come on to the show and say, hey, I disagree with you, and hey, come on the show, trash me, get going. That's fine. But let's have a show, and let's conduct it properly, and don't hang up because someone disagrees with you. If you can't hang, you can't hang, I understand, but don't put yourself out there like you are the end all and not come with it. So, guys, any last statements here? We're about to wind down to the end of the show. A couple minutes for statements across the board here.
Yeah, go to my YouTube, Demand the Truth. Also, just Google the Rhode Island General Assembly. Today was the 5th time I confronted our governor here. I remember I checked in recently. She doesn't care about the missing kids that we have here in Rhode Island. 20 to 25 kids go missing every single day. We were ranked again dead last for business. She was voted 2nd least popular governor again. Providence schools are the worst in the nation, and she's hanging out with Facebook, Disney, Google Elite at the Tech Valley Bank Conference out there in Idaho, and she can't answer my questions. So just share that around. We don't want her using the Rhode Island governorship to hop anywhere else, like maybe a federal position, and just go email Rhode Island General Assembly, Rhode Island Governor. If we all email asking about the missing kids, then enough will be enough, and they'll finally, hopefully, take some action, or at least we'll put the feet to the fire. So thank you again for the time, and thank you, V, very much for this platform, and not just for me, but for anybody can call, anybody here can sign up and share any ideas that they want, and we're going to give you some free time. And if your opinions don't meet up to critical thought or logic, then we will also question you. But this doesn't mean we hate you or that's a hate crime. So thanks again, V.
All right, my statement is, if you can't run with the big dogs, just keep your butt back up on the porch.
Good old
Southern
Southern
like to say. I'd just like to say that despite whatever might have been said or happened, you landed a good guest there, V. And I'm looking forward to listening to your show and when possible being a part of your show. But particularly this guy Tom, I want to thank you very much for you turning me on to him. And I've now developed an interest in Will. It sounds like Will is a fellow traveler, and I'm interested in what he's doing.
Ted,
by the way, I'm so glad you brought that up.
Ted, is that you?
Yeah.
Hey.
Why in the hell did you tell me you were here, man?
I was talking to you, though. That was me talking earlier.
Well, I've got a bottle. I've got a cabaret, man. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
He's so drunk, he doesn't know what's going on. Hey, but Ted, the thing with Tom, I'm so glad to hear about that. And Friday is back on, guys. Let's bring Tom.
Good.
Friday.
Good.
My simulcast with Pirate Radio is not going to be for another month. So let's have him back on. Anyways, thank you all for tuning in to the Red Pill Hardcore Radio Show. I'm your host, B. And remember, in the land of surveillance, man with third eye is king. So educate yourselves.
All right, I'm going to do some beer, man.